ending 1 minute at a time.
I was blind, but now I see.
Working jobs we hate, so we buy shit we don't need.
Ideas are brittle.
If you had one shot, everything I'd ever read, heard, seen was now organized and available.
Now you fucking khakis.
Life moves pretty fast.
The Biohacking Secret Show.
Guillermo, welcome to the Biohacking Secret Show.
Thank you.
We are going to be talking about the health benefits of seawater, and specifically marine therapy and the ketone, hypertonic, and isotonic ampules. Maybe for the listeners who aren't familiar or are hearing seawater, isn't seawater dangerous? How is that linked to, we hear stories about
very good question,
who have been shipwrecked and they drink the seawater and then that is their demise, right? So maybe you can give us a little bit of background on seawater, how it can be used as a health tool, what is marine therapy, and catch everyone up to speed on the history of these practices.
Okay, many questions.
Yes,
very good, very interesting. Okay,
now you talk for a while.
Okay, so one of the most interesting questions you asked was, is seawater dangerous? And my answer is that it can be dangerous. I mean, consumption of seawater with no sterilization protocol is dangerous. In seawater, we can find several types of microorganisms. Archaea, we can find virus. The oceans are full of viruses. Bacteria like Vibrio vulnificus or Vibrio paramolyticus, or even Vibrio cholerae, that are pathogens. And so seawater must be microfiltered. Mm-hmm. This is the first thing we must say when we speak about seawater consumption. So, let me explain first of all what is seawater. I think this is the first thing we need to discuss about. Seawater is a very complex substance from a chemical point of view. It's not, as I was as I say before, everywhere when we used to explain what is water. Seawater is more than a simple mixture of sodium chloride and water. In seawater, we can find huge amounts of magnesium, of calcium, potassium, and even trace elements, minor and trace elements like cobalt, manganese, zinc, copper, vanadium, etc. But the most impressive thing about seawater's composition, from my point of view, is that there's organic compounds in seawater. I'm speaking about biomolecules that appear in seawater because of live organisms' activity, like phytoplankton activity or algae activity. And so, for example, the last 2 years, we have been doing chemical analysis in the Department of Analytical Chemistry in the University of Alicante. And we found out the presence of more than 6 water-soluble vitamins in seawater, and even fat-soluble vitamin, like the vitamin K2. So this is seawater. For example, we also discovered the presence of B12 vitamin, that is a water-soluble vitamin, cyanocobalamin. And this is the real complexity of seawater's composition. So, of course, seawater needs to be harvested in very specific areas of the ocean, in areas we call plankton blooms, because we use some bioindicators, some organisms as bioindicators of the richness of the areas in the ocean. And as I said before, one very interesting not interesting. One very important thing about the protocol is that we need to microfilter the seawater.
Mm-hmm.
We need to remove different. I don't know how to say in English. Contaminants or pollution.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know the word. And after that, we need to analyze seawater. We analyze more than 100 parameters: radioactivity, heavy metals, microbiology, physical chemical analysis, etc. It's very important to even microplastics.
I was thinking that.
Sure. The oceans and the seas are full of microplastics.
Mm-hmm.
This is a very very bad thing from a biology point of view. As a biologist, I can say that. But well, this is human activity, and so what we do is to analyze also microplastics. Mm-hmm. And after that, we have a substance that, as I said before at the beginning, is full of micronutrients, but it is also safe. Mm-hmm. We need to remove all of that. You also asked me about the difference between isotonic and hypertonic ketone ampoules. Mm-hmm. It's a very common question. And in fact, it's
let's go there. Let's go there in 1 second. I want to give, because there's some cool background to how seawater and marine therapy came about. And I'd like you to maybe share some of that, some of the stories of René Quinton. And
sure.
If my memory serves me, there were, and please feel free to interject or correct anything that I'm speaking that's not accurate. But I had read that seawater, at least as it exists in the Quinton ampules, very closely mimics the composition of our blood. And, like a saline solution, right? And historically, it had even been used for blood transfusions in extreme circumstances where soldiers needed a transfusion, but there was not adequate blood. Maybe you can talk a little bit about how the discovery of marine therapy and seawater and some of the process with René Quinton came to be, got us where we're at today.
Sure. Well, yes, all started in 19th century with René Quinton, that was a French researcher, a physiologist in the Collège de France in Paris. And one of the first things he discovered is that our internal liquids, what we call the milieu interne, so extracellular fluid, not intracellular, extracellular fluid, and isotonic seawater, so seawater that has been diluted before, concentration of 0.9, so isotonic, are very similar substances from a chemical point of view. And this is something that René Quinton said at the end of the 19th century. And let me read what we found in the Ganong's Review of Medical Physiology. Because they say in the first page of the first chapter, where they are speaking or describing the extracellular fluid, they say that the cells that make up the bodies of all but the simplest multicellular animals exist in an internal sea of extracellular fluid. The extracellular fluid is more dilute than present-day seawater, but its composition closely resembles that of the primordial oceans in which, presumably, all life originated. So we are speaking about the Ganong's Review of Medical Physiology. It's the textbook we use in all faculties of science in the world. I used in my career, I used this book, and the new version, the 24th edition, says that in the first, in the most important page of the book, the first one. Right. So it's very interesting that we are seeing now that the scientific community is accepting something that René Quinton said more than 120 years ago. So we are rediscovering. It's a kind of rediscovery of what we know we call marine therapy. So this is we can connect this with what I said at the beginning. I was describing the complexity of seawater's composition, and our internal liquids are also complex. In our blood, in the liquid part of our blood, so the blood plasma, is, if I simplify, is composed of water and sodium, chloride, potassium, magnesium, and many trace elements. Zinc, iron, copper, manganese, like seawater, in very, very similar, not identical, but very similar concentrations. Well, so because of that, because of this discovery, René Quinton created what they call marine dispensaries in France, the UK, Belgium, Luxembourg, Switzerland, even the US. They opened these marine dispensaries that were, let's say, that they were health centers where they use marine therapy. Marine therapy is a way to say the use of microfiltered seawater for clinical purpose or health purpose. This marine therapy. So that's it. It was very, very well known at during the 20th century. After the Second Worldwide, it was forgot by the community. Europe was destroyed. I don't know in the US, but in Europe we always remember that our continent was destroyed completely, and this disappeared. And in 1996, one French chemist, Jean-Michel Coll, bought the laboratory in France and reopened it in Alicante, in Spain, where we are actually. We have been doing scientific research for more than 15 years. And what we know now about seawater is much more than we knew before. For example, we have been carrying out studies in immunology, in ophthalmology, in sports medicine, in many different medical areas or specialties. And we are discovering very, very interesting stuff about seawater and its use in medicine. It's amazing. And all these all the good results we discover are related to its chemical composition, of course.
Yeah, there's
complex chemical composition.
For sure. There's, a lot of stuff to unpack here. I think that what we've seen, and one of the factors in history that contributed to where we're at today was, when the American Medical Association, they weren't doing so well financially. It kind of got taken over by the Rockefellers and some of these big banking families. And they hired this guy, I believe his name was Andrew Flexner, to write something called the Flexner Report. And those of you guys listening that aren't familiar with this, if you want to dig into it, you can. But I think some of this history is important to understand, because it's like, if you're just like, well, if this stuff worked, why wouldn't we hear about it more? Right. And the reason is because when the Rockefellers took over and they hired Andrew Flexner to write the Flexner Report, that began the era of the industrialization of medicine, where basically they started trying to turn medicine from a healing art into a business. And that came many times at the expense of people's health. So natural practices that worked, like marine therapy, right, were not only ignored in a lot of the medical textbooks, but they were intentionally suppressed to steer people towards more expensive, less effective synthetic pharmaceutical drugs. Additionally, you see practices like heliotherapy, that, you know, sun therapy, where you get people on beds and put them out in nature in, you know, in different parts of Europe, that were incredibly effective. And those practices kind of fell by the wayside. A lot of the things that worked were kind of pushed out in exchange for pharmaceutical drugs, and the research, you know, kind of given less and less attention. So just an interesting little tidbit that I think is important for people to understand, you know, how we kind of got to where we're at today. Because we're seeing an even bigger push right now to continue suppressing natural practices as people with natural health accounts on social media and websites are being censored and even de-indexed in Google, which is essentially in bed with some of these pharmaceutical companies. So not anything that, you know, could be considered a quote unquote conspiracy theory. That is historical fact that has taken place. And I just wanted to mention it so that you guys had a little bit of context. But Guillermo, what are you guys seeing? What types of benefits, what types of conditions are responding well to marine therapy and seawater therapy?
Well, we are, as I said before, we are discovering very interesting stuff. For example, we found out that, you know, we have, you know, seawater is always seawater. I mean, our seawater is in our different products we have is the same seawater. Sometimes it's in a hypertonic concentration, or in an isotonic one. But we can apply seawater in many different ways. For example, we have an ocular spray with seawater inside. It's seawater made of products.
That sounds a little painful.
Well, but it's not. It's a very interesting. We carried out a research in the for hospitals in Valencia. It's a city in the Mediterranean coast of Spain. And the University of Valencia. And what we did was to compare this isotonic seawater spray with artificial eye tears, eye drops, drops of tears, in the treatment of dry eye syndrome. You know, dry eye syndrome is a very, very common clinical ophthalmological condition in Europe, America, Asia. It's a very common syndrome, and we found that we can reduce 68% of the syndrome, the symptoms in the patients, 24% more than the artificial tears with Carmelos and this stuff. Well, this only a clinical thing, but we also measured the levels of interleukin-6, interleukin-1 beta, MMP9, so pro-inflammatory molecules in the natural tears of the patients. And with the spray, we were able to decrease the concentration of pro-inflammatory molecules. So this is an anti-inflammatory effect of seawater. Wow. Which one is the mechanism of action? This is a very common question. We don't know. It's very complicated because it's not a drug, it's not a hormone, it's not a simple molecule that we can study in vitro. With some methods, we can study what's happening in the cell, the cell signaling, and this kind of stuff. We can't do that with seawater. It's as I said at the beginning, it's very complex. But what we discovered is that we were able to decrease the concentration of pro-inflammatory molecules. In another study with totum sport, that is hypertonic ketone seawater. Do you know who is Rafa Nadal?
What was that?
Rafa Nadal.
The tennis player. Yeah.
Of
course.
The winner.
Yeah.
And well, we are very proud of him in Spain, of course. Yeah. And well, he's in all the competitions. You are going to see how he always take banana. A banana and totum sport, the hypertonic ketone seawater, totum sport, because we did a research in the University of Alicante, and we discovered that we were able to decrease the concentration of lactate in blood compared to a placebo. And this is very interesting because for many years, big lactate concentrations in blood and of course in tissues, in muscle, was related to the appearance of fatigue and of cramps and etc. So being able to reduce lactate concentration is very interesting for sportsmen, and of course we can avoid some hydroelectrolytic imbalances. That we lose during physical activity. We lose water, but we also lose electrolytes, and not only sodium and chloride and magnesium, but also trace elements, trace minerals, what we call trace minerals. So it's a natural way to recover this and to rebalance the normal concentration of these electrolytes.
This episode is also brought to you by Bioptimizers and the Biohacking Secrets Upgraded Digestion Package. So if any of you guys are dealing with suboptimal digestion, characterized by gas, bloating, your stomach feeling distended or like it's sticking out after certain meals, if you get sluggish, if you deal with constipation or diarrhea, you're going to want to pay attention, because it usually comes down to one of three things being off. The first is low stomach acid production. The second is low enzyme production. And the third is gut dysbiosis, meaning you have too many of the quote unquote bad bugs in your gut and not enough of the good ones. And the Bioptimizers Biohacking Secrets Upgraded Digestion Package addresses all of these root causes of suboptimal digestion. It's the best value you could possibly get if you are looking to take 30 days and turn your digestion completely around. And you can get that for just $177. It's usually $270 by going to bioptimizers.com/biohacks. That's bioptimizers.com/BIOHACKS to check out the exclusive Biohacking Secrets Upgraded Digestion Package for just $177 today.
Hearing what we've been speaking about, the vitamins, the minerals, the trace elements, the electrolytes, all of these things that are occurring naturally in seawater as a part of marine therapy in proportions that closely resemble the blood. If someone, a biohacker or otherwise, were to try to go out and get all of these things in supplemental form on their own, it would be impossible to match the right proportions, and quantities. And then additionally, you wouldn't be getting the same fluids that are a part of the seawater. I kind of equate that to like almost biohacking whack-a-mole, where you're trying to micromanage too many things and it's like physically impossible for you to pull off. Whereas if you just go with a kind of like a meta hack, like the ketone ampules, the ketone hypertonic ampules, it checks all those boxes. You're getting hydrated, you're reducing lactate, which is going to help you if you're an athlete, like decrease perceived exertion, delay the onset of fatigue, right? And simultaneously replace some of those electrolytes that you're losing during sweat. And I love practices like this because they make it easy, right? You just need to figure out what's the right quantity of the solution for you based on your activity levels and where your body's at, rather than something that could become a full-time job if you were trying to do it all on your own.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's it. Well, these are only two examples of what we saw in our research. Yeah. Another very interesting thing that can be applied in different medical specialties was in a department of immunology. Well, it's a department of biotechnology in the University of Alicante, but there's a group of immunologists with that are supervised by Dr. Sempere. He's a professor of immunology. And they have been doing research with Quinton isotonic for more than 10 years. And well, they discovered 10 years ago an immunomodulatory effect or behavior, let's say behavior of Quinton isotonic in vitro, okay, in lymphocytes and monocytes. It was very interesting. More recently, they have been doing research with neutrophils that are very important cells, immune cells, because they act through phagocytosis, and what they do is to eat the pathogens, like fungi,
like Pac-Man.
Yeah, kind of. But once we always forget what happened inside the cell. Imagine you eat a bacteria. You imagine that you are a neutrophil, so an innate immune cell that you eat, you phagocyte, you eat a bacteria, for example, Escherichia coli, and after eating the microorganism, you need to kill it. You need the intercellular killing. You need to kill it. If you don't kill it, the microorganism is going to go outside the neutrophil. So what we discovered is that these neutrophils surrounded by Quinton isotonic in vitro increased the bactericidal activity. They increase what we call the respiratory burst. That is a strategy used by neutrophils that consists in using oxygen radicals like oxygen peroxide to kill the bacteria or the microorganism that has been phagocyzed, gobbled. No? And so we were able to increase this process in vitro.
That's fascinating.
What happens in a complex organism? We don't know. We need to continue with our research, but it's very interesting to know that. And look, when we use, for example, the nasal spray, or when we use the ocular spray, we are putting Quinton isotonic or Quinton hypertonic in the case of the nasal spray in an ambient, an environment where some immune cells are present. So we can imagine, and it's a hypothesis. We can imagine that we are giving the correct surrounding to the immune cells to act like this. So, for example, in this case, increasing the respiratory burst, the intracellular killing of the immune cell. Well, this is only an example. It's much more complex than that, but I think that this gives a general idea of what we can do with C1.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I mean, if I'm hearing you correctly, what you're saying is if someone is deficient in some of these electrolytes, vitamins, trace minerals, the things provided in like a Quinton hypertonic solution or the ocular spray or the nasal spray, that it's likely that their immune system, particularly the neutrophils, are functioning suboptimally, not maintaining homeostasis by killing off dangerous bacteria at their full capacity. So just by maintaining these, I mean, I haven't seen any condition that hasn't, this is a blanket statement, but I haven't seen any condition that hasn't responded favorably to the addition of ketone hypertonic ampules, in the right amounts. But yeah, please continue. What else are you guys seeing in the laboratory? And this is really interesting stuff. Just being able to, to boost the immune system, that's more important now than ever.
Mm-hmm. Well, we also created skin spray,
mm-hmm.
dermatological spray. We carried out studies in psoriasis and in atopic dermatitis with very interesting results in children. We only did this specific research in children with very good results. This was carried out in Madrid, and it was very interesting. But look, Anthony, this is something we have been doing for many years. More before René Quinton discovered or co-discovered the similarity between the composition of our internal liquids and isotonic seawater. I don't know, because where are you in the US?
Right now,
do you have a coast? I don't remember the place.
Yeah, right now I'm in Door County, Wisconsin. So up north right now. I'm right on Lake Michigan, but not seawater.
Okay.
I was in Florida for the past 3 years.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Very good. Look, because this is something I don't have to explain in Mediterranean countries in Europe, because in our culture it's very common to go to the sea when you have skin problems, skin conditions. Mm-hmm. It's something that it's automatic.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I think that everybody has this thought, but I understand that in some places, for example, in Madrid, where they're in our capital, Madrid, they have no seas, no oceans. They are in the center, in the middle of the country, and so when I go to Madrid, I have to explain that for many years, for centuries, we have been using the sea and the oceans to accelerate healing. Yeah, to accelerate healing, even with ophthalmological conditions. We used to do that.
Yeah. Even to echo that, I may be a little off on the source here, but it was either like the Journal of the American Medical Association, or something similar, if I'm off on that. But I think it was JAMA in like the 1940s labeled something the trifecta for health. And it was like, if you're dealing with any medical condition, from measles to psoriasis to chronic fatigue, they would recommend 3 things. And it was the beach, the ocean, and fresh air. And people would literally go to the beach for extended periods of time until they healed, and they'd get in the ocean every single day. And, we now know that's also a practice that, the ocean works a lot like a Faraday cage, where now more than ever, we're exposed to, with 5G, and I mean, it's been going on for hundreds of years, but we're really ramping it up now. These non-native electromagnetic frequencies can cause an autoimmune response in the body. They can make it where our own immune cells start attacking themselves. And that's part of what's going on with psoriasis. There's an autoimmune component. So if you're taking this 2-prong approach, like using the skin spray or getting in the ocean, you're sort of replenishing some of these minerals and electrolytes and things that can fight free radical damage. But when you immerse your body and reconnect to the Earth's magnetic field, what happens when we do get in the water, you're also like pulling some of these unnatural electromagnetic frequencies out of the body, restoring your cells to a more harmonious frequency, the Schumann resonance that we've evolved with over millions of years. And doing that consistently can be helpful for a wide variety of conditions. We're going to stay away from the word cure. Everything that we share here is for information purposes only, just so we don't get messed with, right? But you guys can do your own research. And if you have something that's low or no risk, but has worked for hundreds of years, and you've tried stuff that hasn't worked, maybe consider getting back to nature and plugging in to these natural frequencies and natural substances that have stood the test of time.
Yeah, it's what Anthony. It's what they call thalassotherapy. No, it's thalassotherapy is the name of what all what you explained. The marine therapy. Well, these are only names, no concepts. But the marine therapy is a little bit different. Both are very, very interesting strategies. Thalassotherapy is to go to the sea, to the ocean, and for all the reasons you mentioned. And we can conceive the marine therapy as the use of microfilter seawater in for very specific reasons, and in a very specific moments. I think that there's only this because Anthony, the oceans and seas are changing a lot. So we need to be careful with the areas where we go to swim. For example, in Europe, we have we need to do in our beaches. We need to do analysis, microbiological analysis. Sometimes there is E. coli contamination or pollution, proliferation of E. coli in some very specific beaches, and so there's people in Spain that goes to these places. Not maybe these places, but they go to the sea. They take seawater, and they, without processes of microfiltration or any process, sterilization process, they use the seawater for their skin, for their eyes. They consume it, and these can be dangerous. It depends on the area, but I think we always need to remember that we need a protocol. To be able
definitely.
To...
So, I mean, that's a perfect transition. And I'd like to talk about protocols a little bit, but just so people don't have to wait till the end of the episode to know where they can, pick up some of these products, and just a little stint. Like, if you guys are getting value from this episode, we've recently been shadow banned on Instagram and Facebook, and the podcast after having Dr. Rashid Buttar on. We're getting about 50% of the downloads that we were before that. I suspect it's all algorithm based, but if you guys are getting value from this conversation, and you like these episodes and you want us to continue doing these, like, please share this episode. Please, help get it out there by word of mouth, share it with people via email, and support, support Guillermo and what the work that they're doing in the laboratory to show that these natural therapies work. Guillermo, where, if people are inclined, before we get into the actual protocols, what's the website that you would send people to check out the hypertonic solution, which I've used a ton, and then some of the ocular sprays and the skin sprays and the nasal sprays? Where can they check that stuff out?
Okay. Well, if it's in the US, Anthony, we work with a distributor that is Quicksilver Scientific with our friend Shade. And so they are our distributors. They work very, very good. They're awesome. In the US, you can find the products with them.
Yeah, so Quicksilver Scientific, guys, if you go to their website, we've also, you'll be able to find it just with, an internet search. We also have a biohacks discount code. I don't remember what it is exactly, but it'll save you some dough. So if you decide to pick this stuff up at quicksilverscientific.com, just enter discount code biohacks and help us get the word out with this stuff by leaving a review on Apple Podcasts and sharing these episodes with your friends. Guillermo, let's get into some of the protocols, right? I told you that I have a garage full of the hypertonic solution and the isotonic solution because Dr. Chris Shade and the good folks over at Quicksilver were nice enough to send some for our upcoming Ultimate Biohacking Experience event. And then, COVID kind of shut down all events. So we were going to be giving it to all the guys and we always have, but what are what's the loading? Is there a loading phase, right? Because so many people are deficient in these electrolytes and trace minerals. What does that loading phase look like? If there is one, what is maintenance and where are you guys seeing the best results for 150, 200 pound person?
I'm not sure if I understood all the question.
Yeah. What are the protocols, standard protocols with let's just start with the oral hypertonic solution. What gets the best results for energy, mental clarity, athletic performance? How much should we take?
I thought you were speaking about the protocol of manufacturing, but you are speaking about I understood.
How to take
first of all, there's a difference between isotonic and hypertonic. It's what I say at the beginning. It's only a difference of salt content. Salinity. Mm-hmm. It's a difference of salinity. So isotonic is the salinity of isotonic is 0.9. It's the same salinity of our internal liquids or extracellular fluids. And hypertonic is 3.3. It's the normal salinity of seawater. To be able to do to produce isotonic, we just add mineral water. Fresh water. Mm-hmm. Okay, mineral water, in order to dilute the hypertonic seawater.
Okay, so it's just a dilution of the dilution. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
So and why? Because isotonic ketone is recommended to digestive conditions. When we have a digestive disease, like gastroenteritis, for example, it's very common to have diarrhea and vomiting. Mm-hmm. And what happens with diarrhea and vomiting is a big loss of water, but also of electrolytes. Mm. So to recover these losses, what we recommend is isotonic seawater, but because what we are losing is our isotonic internal liquids. I'm simplifying a lot the explanation because I think it's easier to understand. But this is the concept. So as I said, isotonic ketone is going to be used for digestive conditions, and in other health or medical conditions when we are in which we are going to look for a recovery of minerals. This a non-specific use of ketone isotonic, but it is common to be used like that. But from my point of view, the most interesting is to be used in digestive conditions.
This episode of the Biohacking Secrets Show is brought to you by Veritas Farms and their full line of CBD products, CBD standing for cannabidiol. Now, we are real excited about this partnership because Veritas means truth in Latin, and we are big believers in bringing you guys the truth, not just through this podcast, but by making sure that any products that we share or that we bring on as sponsors are products that we personally use, believe in, and endorse ourselves. And that is the case with Veritas Farms and their full line of CBD products. The reason that they're so great, they are full spectrum hemp products, meaning that they have all of the beneficial phytonutrients that you get in a quality CBD product. 99% of the CBD products on the market are CBD isolate, and they're just being resold, meaning they're coming from a few small manufacturers. They've only got one tiny part of all of the important phytonutrients that you need to get the benefits you want from a CBD product, and they're just a bunch of different companies reselling them. Veritas Farms is vertically integrated, meaning they own the farm. They ensure that there are no pesticides being added. It's organic, and then they control the entire process from harvesting to extraction until that product ends up at your door. That's what I love it. It's kind of like farm to table, but for CBD. And the benefits that I've noticed, my sleep is better. I feel like I get a deeper, more restful night's sleep. I'm less stressed. I never have periods of anxiety. I feel calm and focused throughout the day. And it even decreases inflammation when I have flights or other things where inflammation is an inevitable part of life. You take a little extra CBD and it can be very helpful for stress, anxiety, sleep, and that inflammation. So if you guys want to check it out, we've arranged a 15% discount for you guys. To get that, you can go to theveritasfarms.com/biohacks. I'll spell it out. THEVERITASFARMS.com/BIOHACKS to save 15%. Check out the Veritas Farms CBD. You guys are going to absolutely love it.
And you found that if someone's dealing with digestive conditions, whether it's like leaky gut or loose stools or any variety of problems, that the isotonic, the diluted 0.9 solution works better than why wouldn't they just get the hypertonic and drink a little bit more water?
Well, because normally the oral, or what we call ORT, no, the oral rehydration therapy, what the World Health Organization called the ORT, is with an isotonic concentration. What they recommend, what the WHO recommend, the WHO recommend, is an isotonic solution with water and sodium chloride. What we do is it's water, sodium chloride, and all I mentioned in the description of seawater's composition. So trace elements, vitamins, biomolecules, etc.
Okay.
So this is the reason isotonic is more recommended than hypertonic in a digestive condition.
Okay. All right. That makes sense. And then
Normally.
what types of situations have you seen? Not what types of situations, but I guess, yeah, if anything that we haven't covered, and what are the dosages, for, I guess what's the dosage for someone with digestive issues that wants to use the ketone isotonic solution to help with it? Is it 1 ampule or 1 packet, 2 packets a day, 2 packets 3 times a day? What are we looking at?
Well, Anthony, it always depends on the. Of course, this is complicated to answer because it always depends on the patient and on the disease. But normally we are going to say 3 to 6 ampoules per day. If there are big losses of water, if the diarrhea or vomiting is very important as a symptom, we are going to increase the posology to 6 to 12 ampoules per day.
Okay.
And of course, the patient needs to drink water as well. Electrolytes are very important, but also water. So doing a combination of water ingestion and isotonic ketone ingestion is very interesting.
Yeah. And so for anyone listening, or like if you guys have someone you care about that's been dealing with digestive issues and having a hard time, Guillermo has seen starting with 3 to 6 ampules of the isotonic solution, and then potentially increasing it to 6 to 12 ampules while also drinking plenty of clean water. And I want to add that, we've also seen in those conditions doing a juice fast, not like store-bought stuff, but literally get a juicer, get yourself like a what are some of the good brands? Champion is a good brand. There's the Medical Medium has one now that's pretty good. I'm not recalling it off the top of my head, but you get a good non-centrifugal juicer that doesn't use heat and friction, and drink a ton of fresh juice throughout the day. Cut out the fiber, cut out the things that can irritate your gut, and go liquid only for a while. And what I would also be doing is make sure that you're looking at your environment, because things like being around Wi-Fi all the time, being on your computer while it's transmitting all the time, being around smart meters, and especially if you're living in a city, that is really, really irritating on the gut. And like when you're healing, it's important to remove all the thorns that could be causing problems, which for many people include fiber in their food, even healthy food, and then replenishing some of these lost minerals and electrolytes until you get back to baseline. So I just wanted to mention that so that you guys had a little bit of a game plan. How much to juice? At least 16 ounces, but if you can get up into 48 ounces or more, even better. Guillermo, please continue.
Okay. So after that, there's we have the hypertonic Quinton. So as I said, hypertonic Quinton is 3.3. The salinity is 3.3. It's the natural salinity of seawater. And in this case, we are going to recommend it for chronic fatigue. There's a let's say an important connection between chronic fatigue and some nutrient deficiencies. And we used to explain that explaining the what happens in energy production in mitochondria, for example, or in the cytoplasm. In the glycolysis, for example, to take one biochemical route or path, I don't know how to say it. In most of the steps, the different steps of the glycolysis, you need magnesium as a cofactor. So, and this is only an example. It's always only an example. But these two, the way we try people to understand how important are minerals, and magnesium is one of the most important minerals from a biochemical perspective. As I said, in most of the biochemical paths in the metabolism and anabolism, you need magnesium or manganese as well, or zinc as cofactors. So yes, hypertonic, of course, is in general more. You are going to find higher amounts of these nutrients because the concentration is higher. And this is the good thing about hypertonic Quinton. You are not going to use it for digestive conditions, but with a chronic fatigue syndrome, it can be very interesting. One thing I want to add, Anthony, is that from my point of view, seawater is not a panacea. We don't have to be confused in this point, in this aspect. It's not a panacea. From my point of view, one thing, some people disagree with me, but with what I saw in our research and what I saw in my experience in these 5 years doing research in that, is that it's not the panacea, but these very specific effects of seawater are very interesting because we don't have any side effect. We haven't found side effects in seawater's composition, and so, of course, it's a natural product, and this is very important. We don't have to forget that. And well, it's very complex. The composition is very complex, and this has, as we saw in our research, has consequences in vitro and in vivo.
Yeah.
Only one thing, Anthony. In most of our studies, we have compared isotonic or hypertonic seawater with conventional saline solution, hypertonic or isotonic. And I can tell you that there's a big difference in vitro studies when we do cell culturing, but also in vivo study. I mean, clinical research, as we saw, in ophthalmology research, in sports medicine, digestive medicine, etc., dermatology, etc.
Absolutely. And I think it's the difference between plugging into the wisdom of nature that has been around longer than we have versus trying to recreate nature. It rarely works. It never works as well. I don't know. I don't want to say never, but it rarely works as well. And it's fascinating, what you've said about chronic fatigue and the relationship of like the hypertonic ampules helping the immune system with, low-level bacterial infections. And we know that people who are dealing with Lyme disease or some of these other bacterial infections can struggle substantially with fatigue. It's fascinating to me that you can, replenish these levels of vitamins and minerals in this hypertonic solution and see not only the immune system working better, but energy levels and the mitochondria responding favorably too. So very cool. And I think we've got a lot of great stuff that people can utilize here and run with. And guys, if you feel inspired to take or to use the ketone, hypertonic, or isotonic ampules, you can go to quicksilverscientific.com and enter discount code BIOHACKS, BIOHACKS. And if that doesn't work for any reason, just message me. And then I'm going to, give you how to stay up to date with other cool things that Guillermo is working on in just a second. But also just because of the shadow ban, if you want to stay in the loop on things that we've got going on and releases, go to biohackersguide.com/energy crash and make sure you subscribe to our email newsletter there, because that's the channel that we're utilizing most for communication right now. It's biohackersguide.com/energy crash. And then Guillermo, where can people stay up to date on cool things that you're working out? Where do you share studies and research and breakthroughs?
Oh, okay. I think everything is online. You can find our research in PubMed or in any medical, how can I say that? Bank of data. Okay. You can find that. Well, the two papers we published in ophthalmology are published in Clinical Ophthalmology and in Open Journal of Ophthalmology. And the other research, I think it's easy to find on the internet.
Awesome.
But yeah. And if you are looking for more understandable, for general population, more understandable things or stuff about ketone and marine therapy, we are on Facebook, we are on Instagram, and so I think it's very easy to find us.
Fantastic. Well, Guillermo, I've enjoyed our conversation. I think you shared a lot of gravy, and I appreciate you doing that and taking the time. And I think those of our listeners who tuned in will appreciate it as well. And yeah, thank you, brother.
Thank you.
What's up, guys? Anthony here, and thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Biohacking Secrets Show. One of my favorite things to do is helping men and women like you feel what it's like with the body you've always wanted and all-day energy that starts the moment you wake up and doesn't quit. Over the past decade, we've created a proprietary health assessment that helps me to identify the unique toxicities and deficiencies that may be holding you back from the life that you deserve. And what we've discovered in doing this with now thousands of CEOs, executives, professional athletes, businessmen, Hollywood celebrities, and entrepreneurs is that there's always room for improvement and optimization. Whether you're already performing at a high level or you have that feeling inside your heart that you're capable of more, the single fastest way to unlock your potential is to upgrade your mind and your body. And there's no program on earth that does that faster or to a greater magnitude than our one-on-one consulting program at www.biohackingsecrets.com/coaching. We start with our proprietary health assessment that screens you for vitamin deficiencies like A, D, magnesium, iron, etc., high cholesterol and heart disease, high blood pressure, digestive disorders, hidden infections like Lyme, Epstein-Barr, parasites, SIBO, Candida, and more that can just drain your energy in the background, especially if you don't know about them. Anxiety, depression, and cognitive disorders, autoimmune disease, adrenal fatigue, thyroid issues, mold toxicity, heavy metals, environmental toxins, and other genetic risk factors like MTHFR, APOE status, your glutathione production, and many more. We even recommend the specific tests that I use with my one-on-one clients if they're relevant for you in figuring out your biological age and identifying those key areas and opportunities that can take your life to the next level. From there, we create a customized game plan along with a personalized supplement protocol to help you optimize your weight and energy at the cellular level. And for our platinum clients, we even include a personalized workshop with me in Delray Beach, Florida. Most of the year, this program's full with a waiting list, but we just had a couple spots open up and I wanted to offer them to the listeners of the Biohacking Secrets Show first. So if you're interested in seeing what it might look like for us to work together, head over to www.biohackingsecrets.com/coaching. That's www.biohackingsecrets.com/COACHING and fill out the short application form. If you're pre-approved, you'll be given the opportunity to book a time to connect with someone on our team and see if it's a fit. Thank you so much for being a part of this community, and I look forward to potentially going on this journey together.